It's the Verizon pregame show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Mark Farzetta with you along with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn. It's a little chilly outside in Philadelphia, but it's supposed to get real chilly in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Eagles may be dealing with a couple of flurries in the early goings of this game before that dissipates. But the Eagles have certainly played in worse conditions in South Philadelphia, so it shouldn't factor in too much. But we'll talk about that effect with a man who played at Lambeau Field. Yeah, remember? Seth Joyner played over there for a little bit as well. But we'll also break down what happened at the trade deadline and how much better the Eagles got and what to expect from them after the bye week. First and foremost, let's start with this, Seth. When you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles going into Lambeau Field, also the last team to help finish off the Packers in back-to-back games going back to 2010, as a matter of fact, what can you expect from the Eagles, and what would you tell the Eagles about preparing at Lambeau today with the weather conditions?
Well, I've been listening to guys talk about the cold weather all week, and they're saying all the right things. Jordan Davis talked about, having played in the snow last year in the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. So I wouldn't suspect that the weather is going to be that much of an issue, although, you're aware of it because you're there playing in it. From a game perspective, I feel like the Eagles have beat the Green Bay Packers the last two times they played. They beat them in week 1 to start the season last year, and then they beat them in the playoffs to eliminate them last year. With all the excitement surrounding a much improved defense in Green Bay, and the fact that this Monday night game where everybody gets to sit back and watch these two teams battle it out, you know that the Green Bay Packers are going to come out with their hair on fire tonight. The Eagles have to match or exceed that energy from the beginning in order for things to level out, for them to get to a place where now the true nature of who they are as a team and who the Green Bay Packers are a team you can get the Packers versus the Eagles game, okay? Because it's going to be a heightened sense of the importance of this game. Is going to be heightened from the standpoint that the Green Bay Packers are at home, and it's definitely going to be heightened because it's a Monday Night Football, and everybody else is sitting at home watching this game tonight. So they've got to endure the initial onslaught that's going to be the Green Bay Packers. Then once the game settles in and the strategy, and the scheming of the game really kicks in, now it's time to go to work. But that initial onslaught, the initial intensity has to be matched, because the Green Bay Packers tonight, after losing to the Carolina Panthers last week at home, are going to come out with their hair on fire, swinging and throwing haymakers from the word go.
Feels like temperature tonight. Now, Gunnar, you lived out in that area. You grew up out in that area. -4 is the feel temperature tonight. How do the Eagles get over that one?
That's a heat wave. And the Eagles are not unfamiliar to cold weather. They're used to playing in cold weather here now. But that Midwest cold is a different type of cold. That's the type of cold when you talk like this for a second. You can't even form words sometimes. And when that Lake Michigan hawk hits you on the backside, you feel like somebody trying to pick your pocket behind you, man. But you know what? Once the bodies get out there and start moving around, that adrenaline starts pumping, and your body gets warm. Plus, they got all the heaters on the sideline. The field itself has some of the best heating coil systems in the National Football League. It's all about ball, and we talk about this all the time. When you play the game at this level, especially at this level, 85% is mental, 15% is physical. And you got two teams out here, they know what's at stake. You look at the Eagles, and you don't think they've been watching what Seattle, the Rams, and Detroit have been doing as teams jockey for positions for that number 1 seed? You don't think Green Bay knows that right now they're the number 2 seed in the NFC? They lose this game, they fall to 3rd place in their division and drop down to the number 7 seed in the overall conference? And like Seth said, Green Bay was embarrassed by a Carolina team that went home yesterday and got embarrassed by a Saints team. Is what the NFL is crazy this year. When you look across the board, who would have thought? When you look at the AFC, New England, Chargers, Denver, Indianapolis that are talking AFC. It's not Buffalo. It's not Kansas City right now. And then you look at the NFC. All of a sudden, Seattle comes from out of nowhere. The Rams. If it wasn't for that block kick by the Eagles, think what the Rams would be right now. And the Rams have been rolling lately as well. So, these teams both know in terms of head-to-head competition, jockeying for a position. Man, cold doesn't make a difference. It could be -20 out there. Once that coin toss is on and the lights go up for Monday Night Football, it's all about balling from that point on.
I think also, it comes down to who's winning and who's losing. Like I can remember my year in Green Bay, we played the Dallas Cowboys. in Green Bay, similar situation. And we were beating them like they stole our lunch. And Emmett, walks by and he elbows. He's like, "Man, it's cold out here." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cold, but we got our foot way up in y'all's behind." I didn't say it. I didn't say it like that. But when you're winning, the elements and all the exterior things, they don't really come into play, because even though it was cold for us, it was cold for them. When you're winning, your whole mindset and everything shifts to a whole nother level, because you're going play by play by play. How do we continue to keep our foot in there behind?
Not only that, but the injuries hurt a little bit worse in weather like this. The sprained ankles, the hamstring injuries, the concussions, everything hurts a little bit worse, man, when your body's that frozen. So that's going to be interesting as well in terms of how. This is a great psychological matchup. When you talk about a physical matchup, two teams who are in dire straits, I don't like to use Hugh Douglas's term. This is not a do or die game, but it's a very important game in terms of the thoroughbreds racing to the finish line. But this is a psychological game as well, because these two teams could meet again in the playoffs down the road.
Well, these next 2 weeks are so pivotal. And first things first, the Green Bay Packers. First things first. But these next 2 weeks are pivotal, because if they can go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, they're sitting right where they want to be. Having beaten all the top teams.
That's right.
In their respective conferences. And now all of a sudden, they're sitting in tall cotton. The division is pretty much wrapped from that point on, because that Dallas is going to continue to falter, that the Giants, they just fired Brian Daboll today, that they're going to continue to falter. And, Washington, with their quarterback issue, they're going to continue to falter. So now the situation is, you just got to keep winning. You got to just keep taking care of your business week by week by week, because this is all about the tournament and how we position ourselves to get the best seeding in the tournament. And the best seeding, when it's all said and done, is for every team to have to come through Lincoln Financial Field.
Obviously, if you're the Eagles, you don't want to be looking ahead to seeing the Detroit Lions. You don't want to look ahead and then see the Dallas Cowboys. You want to focus right here on this game. But the Green Bay Packers are in a tougher situation than the Eagles. First off, they haven't beat the Eagles, this version of the Eagles team, of course. Even though this is the first time they're facing each other this year. Like you said, Gunnar, they could see each other down the line in the playoffs. But from a Packers team, the one thing that really makes me raise my eyebrows about this one, even before we get to Micah Parsons or what they could do in their run game or anything like that, Seth, is this essentially right now is the closest thing the Packers are going to play to a Super Bowl. They're going to be up for this game. They don't want to lose another game in a row, of course. They got to bounce back from a terrible performance in Carolina, against the Panthers, rather. How does a team like that, how much do the Eagles have to get up for a team that is going to take this game like it's their Super Bowl?
Well, I talked about it in past weeks about, Nick Sirianni's approach at the beginning of the year, trying to get the team not to lean too much into, last year and the fact that they're Super Bowl champions and that we're not defending anything. In a way, you are, because you're going to get the best of everybody, because you're at the top of the hill. When you're at the top of the hill, you are the barometer by which everyone wants to measure themselves about where they are, where they need to be, and what they need to do to get to where you were last season. Okay? So the Green Bay Packers are no different. They know that they've got issues, because we beat them the last two times that we faced them. So we know, or these players better know, that they're going to get the Green Bay Packers' absolute best. That's why I said in the beginning, their intensity level is going to be paramount in this game. They cannot afford to come out kind of ho-hum, kind of messing around, and then, in the second quarter, the second half, decide that now they want to play. They've got to be ready to go full tilt from the word go. Because I'm telling you right now, the Green Bay Packers, they're coming out, and they're going to come out with their hair on fire. They're going to run the football. They're going to test whether, the 78 yards per game that the Eagles have only yielded over the last 2 weeks since Nakobe Dean has come back, whether that's for real, or are they the team that ranked 20-something, giving up 121 yards a game. They're going to get a steady diet of Josh Jacobs in this football game to find out where they are, because if they can run the ball, that's going to open things up, everywhere else on the offensive side of the ball. That team is going to look at those previous 5 games and see how inept the offense was and say to themselves, we can get them. we can get after Jalen. We can stop the run. We can limit A.J. Brown and frustrate him, and get him, in his feelings. So this is what this team is facing. But the way that you deal with that is you come out with this and match their intensity. Or once you feel what their intensity is, your objective is to take it to another level to make them match. And if they can't match, now you run roughshod over.
All right, now, before we get to the trade deadline, just want to ask you both this. Gunnar, I'll start with you. When it comes to something you didn't see enough of in the first half of the season, what do you want to see more of in the second half of the season that almost confused you as to why the Eagles didn't do more of this to start off the year?
I want to see them punish people more in the ground game. We finally got a taste of that in the last game against the Giants before they stepped aside for the bye week. But we have been screaming and pulling our hair out. Oh, wait, we don't have much of that. But we have been screaming, how does this same offensive line, the same offensive unit as a whole, not dominate across the board when it comes to the run game? And we finally saw it against that Giants game. Okay, so now we sit here and we've wondered for 2 weeks, have they finally hit that so-called identity we've been waiting for them to see, or was it just a one and done and we're going to still see that proverbial roller coaster from this team? I want to see them dominate the line of scrimmage once again, and that's the thing I'm most interested in. We talked about how Saquon hadn't come close to a 100-yard game. I think his best game before the bye was 88 yards until he busted up the Giants. Okay, now you have a Green Bay team. They were one of the top 5 teams in run defense. They were giving up like 79 yards a game. All of a sudden, Carolina busted them up for 163 yards. So I guarantee the Eagles have been studying what Carolina did for the last 2 weeks to see exactly what Carolina did to gouge Green Bay in the ground game. Because if the Eagles control the ground game, they're going to control the clock. If they're putting points on the board, this game is over by halftime.
You're going with the ground game. Seth, what do you want to say?
The blocking. I think that, I agree with D-Gun 100%. Whoever wins the line of scrimmage, whoever wins the trenches are going to win this football game. And let's start on the offensive side of the ball first. A couple of weeks ago, I drew up, on my little pad in my podcast, how the Eagles could remedy their run game problems. Okay, when they get the 4-man line, they have to double the 2 tackles on the inside. Schematically, they must be doubled, and then you work up to the second level. Because the problems that they've had is they've tried to block the tackles one-on-one and go up to the linebacker too early, and the defensive tackles have been penetrating, getting in the backfield, disrupting the run play before it even gets started. The game against the Giants, they went back to the double teams on the inside. They brought in Fred Johnson at tight end. Okay, and they shored things up across the board, which allowed them to run the football the way that they wanted to run it. They have to continue to do that. And I understand in part why they did it that way. When you have the kind of run success that they had last year, you know that teams are going to adjust to what you do. So I believe that their adjustment in the offseason was to block things a little bit differently. It didn't work. But when you have success with something, you force the other team to figure out how to beat you rather than you making the adjustment. So go back to the double teams where you can get them. Go back to the double teams, 600 pounds rather on 300 pounds, push them off the ball, then work up next level. Now you're going to be able to run the ball the way that you want to. It's the same exact thing on the defensive side of the ball. The tackles, I don't care whether it's Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, or whoever the other tackle is, whether they're in their 4-man front, their 5-man front, and dare I say sometimes Vic Fangio will put them in a 6-man front just to stop the run. They have to dominate the line of scrimmage and make the Green Bay Packers one-sided. And as crazy as it seems, if they can get Jordan Love to have to throw the ball 40 times tonight, I like their chances.
All right, now on that pattern, when you talk about the run game and you also talk about the blocking scheme, Cam Jurgens, of course, out tonight. Brett Toth set to make another start at the center position.
Even more important, why they have to double team.
Well, I thought rather impressive. If you go watch the film against the Giants, granted it was the Giants. The Giants still have Dexter Lawrence in the middle of that defensive line. The Eagles all of a sudden having their best run game of the season. Hadn't had a 100-yard rusher all year. Bang, just like that, 2-in-1 game. Is Brett Toth going to be a drop-off from what we have seen from Cam Jurgens to this point? Obviously a banged-up Cam Jurgens, but is Brett Toth going to be able to repeat the performance he had against the Giants?
Well, playing the Giants defense is nothing compared to like this faster Green Bay defense, and a little bit stouter Green Bay defense. The thing that you have to keep an eye on the closest is, and I've been thinking about this all week, is the trench warfare. Green Bay's going to move Micah Parsons around all over the place. You're not going to see him just go one-on-one against Lane Johnson or against Jordan Mailata. They like to also attack him from the middle, and that's a matchup I do not want to see because he will eat Brett Toth up if you send him from the middle, whether it's on either side of the guard position or the center position. The one thing you don't want to have is Micah Parsons finding that he's found an open gate in the middle, because then his pursuit of Jalen Hurts is a lot shorter distance. Whereas, Jalen if he's coming from one side, Jalen goes one way or the other. If he's coming up the middle with his speed, that's a shorter path to get to the quarterback than you want. So they're going to have to give Brett a more help to close that gap off, or it could be a rough night with Micah Parsons coming up the middle.
D, it's funny that you bring that up because I did a show last week, and I said, I'm not worried. They were like, what about Micah Parsons? I was like, listen, I'm not worried about Micah Parsons.
Right.
The guy on the edge on the right has owned Micah Parsons. The guy on the left has fared pretty well against Micah Parsons. I said, but if they move him down inside, now I'm worried.
There you go.
Okay? Now I'm worried because any one of those three guys from center to guard that he matches up and they can figure out how to get him one-on-one against that guy by himself, that's a problem. That's a major problem. So the Eagles, I'm sure that they have a plan for that. Whether you just step down and block it all off, whether you zone it with a double team attached to it, I don't care how you get it done. But if they put him down inside, the one thing that they have to do is they got to make sure that they keep him locked inside and don't let him get on the edge and get up the field and get in the backfield. The other thing about Micah is, and we saw some of it in the last game. The touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert. That play, I believe, was put in to play with the psyche and the mind of one Micah Parsons. Because I believe the way that you neutralize him is that you run the ball at him.
Right.
The other advantage of what they have is they will line Dallas Goedert up on the strong side. Micah, for the most part, lines up on the weak side. So he goes from side to side, okay? And what you saw was last week, they snapped the ball. Dallas Goedert came in motion. They ran read option. Jalen kept it. The defensive end stepped up, and as he stepped up, Dallas Goedert ducked underneath him. Jalen threw him the ball for a touchdown. Now, they've used that play on multiple occasions against the Dallas Cowboys when Micah Parsons was in that position. They need to do that because I can remember him throwing his hands up in the air in total frustration because you put him in conflict. He doesn't know whether to take the quarterback or take the tight end when the tight end comes across. So they've got to be able to create that, frustrate him, run the ball at him. If I was an offensive coordinator, I would put Fred Johnson at fullback and I would put Dallas Goedert at tight end. As crazy as that sounds, okay? Now, I'm going to take the Y, which is the tight end, and I'm going to shift him off the ball, okay? Take the Z receiver, put him on the ball. Then shift Dallas Goedert over to Micah Parsons' side on the weak side, thereby making that the strong side of the formation, okay? When you do that, you take the X off the ball, you put the Y up on the ball, and then I'm going to short motion Fred Johnson from the fullback position over to the new strong side, and I'm going to wear Micah Parsons' ass out by running the ball right at him with a double team between Fred Johnson and Dallas Goedert all day long. I'm going to make him not want to play football by the time tonight's over.
Sounds like a good plan. We'll see if the Eagles are able to execute that. By the way, in 7 games against Micah Parsons, Lane Johnson has faced him 37 times in pass blocking attempts. He's only allowed 5 pressures, 1 sack in that time. Not too bad. We gave you a little bit of a wish list as to what we want to see from the Philadelphia Eagles after the bye week. Well, Howie had his own wish list at the trade deadline. We'll break that down, including what Howie gave up to try to improve this team. All that and more on this edition of the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel with the Verizon pregame show.
I got this old thing and the bill from the store where I got it. Figured you could beat it with a better deal than one of these big boys.
That doesn't work that way.
Well, at Verizon, anyone can bring in their AT&T or T-Mobile bill and they'll give you a better deal.
I thought Verizon was pricey.
No, better deal, best 5G network. Back to the TV. Does it come higher than 8K? Because I don't like to squint.
Ma'am, take your TV and go.
Bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to Verizon for a better deal.
Guess you're not as cool as Verizon.
You don't know that?
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen?
There's a number on the screen!
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Howie Roseman working the phone lines throughout the trade deadline. He already made the addition of Brandon Graham, bringing him back. And let's not forget, although I don't think anyone expects him to be a savior, I think he'll still be an upgrade when it comes to what the Eagles are doing defensively. And the leadership, obviously, in the locker room, unquestioned. But Howie just kept going. Take a look at the trades here, Seth, and what you saw from Howie Roseman and what he was able to get here. Jalen Phillips, he's able to bring into Philadelphia for next to, well, unfortunately, a third-round pick. A lot of people didn't like that, but Jalen Phillips, highly talented. Also, Michael Carter II coming here. Most likely as a nickel, we'll get to that. Howie gives up John Mechie in a 2027 6th-rounder. Also gets a 7th-rounder back in next year's draft. Not this upcoming draft, but next year. And Jair Alexander comes to Philadelphia along with a 2027 7th-round pick in exchange for a 6th-round pick in the upcoming draft. What did you make of the deadline deals?
You know, Mark, anytime I see players get traded, my first response is, why? What went wrong where he was that forced the trade? Jalen Phillips, you know, is a pretty darn good player. What has he got, like 3.5 sacks this year?
3.5 sacks this year.
In 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
But he's had some injury issues that have been the problem. The good thing is, hey, listen, he played for Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio knows him well. He knows Vic Fangio well. He wants to be here, so it wasn't one of those trades where he was shipped somewhere and didn't necessarily, you know, want to be there. That's the good thing. When it comes to Michael Carter, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, okay, where is it that you're going to use another slot corner? Do you feel like you can transition him from the inside to the outside? Because I surely don't want to see Cooper DeJean on the outside too often because of what he means and how productive he is at the slot corner position. He's a great cover, he's a great blitzer, and he's a great tackler as the faux will backer in a 4-2 front when it comes to the run game. So he's an important piece there. And I don't know Michael Carter well enough to know whether he can give you that, but I do know what Cooper DeJean brings to the table. As far as, you know, Jair Alexander is concerned, I watched him play last year, and I kind of felt like he was cooked. He was done. You know, so when the Green Bay Packers traded him, again, what's my first thought? Why? If you've got a Pro Bowl level player that's only 28 years old, what is wrong with him that forces you to trade him? Obviously, they got some other guys that they felt better about throughout training camp. I don't think anybody knows how healthy or how unhealthy he really is. He goes to the Baltimore Ravens, where they at the time had a definite need with a lot of young players, you know, at the cornerback position. Healthy scratch, 5 out of 7 weeks. So now he's here, and the first game he's here, and he hasn't played in the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks, you know, with the bye. The question is, he's not active tonight. Now, is he not active because he's not acclimated with the defense, with the verbiage, with, you know, because coverage is a universal. It's just about figuring out, you know, what the verbiage says opposed to what it meant where you used to be, you know. So then the question is, why isn't he active tonight? Is he still injured? Did they, you know, get him here and get him in practice last week and all of a sudden see what the Baltimore Ravens saw and how we realized, hey, I just been duped? I'm not saying that that's the case one way or the other. I'm just throwing it out there for conversation and wonderment, because when a guy gets traded, I always think, why was that guy traded? Now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, see how it plays out. But you know what, D-Gun? We talked about it, and you know how I feel about my opinions. You know, 9 times out of 10, you know, my assessment about what I see is pretty much spot on. I thought that he was cooked and he was done last year. He just did not look like the same player. Unbeknownst to me, he had a major injury that was going on. Maybe that was the case, but at the end of the day, you know, we'll just have to wait and see when they finally put him on the field how much he has left or if he has anything left to contribute to this football team.
I felt he was done when he was finished in Green Bay after 7 years in Green Bay. If you look at a team like Green Bay, if they have a player still in this prime, they do everything in their power to try to keep a young player because they take pride in always having a young nucleus. You know, they're not one of these teams that go out. You know, what they did in terms of getting Micah Parsons was not the norm for Green Bay. That's the exception to the rule for what they did. They always try to keep the players that they like in-house. The fact that Baltimore and Harbaugh's defense there, they didn't use him. He was suited up for 2 games when he was there. That should tell you a lot. Then I read earlier today that he basically came out and told the Eagles that his knee didn't feel right. So, and I'm asking people, so what the heck did you out and get him for? Now, here's the response I got. That should tell you how desperate we are looking for a cornerback because there's nothing much else out there. Now, that's not so much a slap at him as to he was the best option of what was available on the open market. Now, people are saying, well, why not get Asante Samuel? Well, Asante's coming off a spinal injury. And he was a good player, an above-average player before he got hurt. I guarantee you there are teams out there, and he's been visiting a lot of teams, that are hesitant to grab him because they may not want to be the team that has that player that could get re-injured and re-injure his spinal again. Because a player of Asante's caliber, he should have been gobbled up already. But why is he still free? See, teams are approaching this real cautious. They're having their medical staff, their trainers look at him very thoroughly before they pick him up, and I don't blame them. But the fact that the Eagles go out and get damaged goods basically in a Jair Alexander, and we already know what they have in house, that tells you how desperate they were to try to get. They were hoping maybe, just maybe, he's that guy who could play better than Keely Ringo, than Adoree Jackson. But again, like Seth said, I'm not going to prematurely judge him, you know, because sometimes a player that doesn't fit in one system can flourish in another system. Obviously, he didn't fit where Baltimore, what Baltimore was doing on top of the injury itself. Now he gets a chance to come to Vic Fangio's defense when they feel if they get this knee right, he might be that missing link on the side opposite of Quinn.
So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So the Baltimore Ravens are primarily a man defense.
Yes.
Okay. Did that not fit his skill set? Because for a guy that runs 4.3, that's been to the Pro Bowl, that's lauded as one of the better cornerbacks, you know, over the last 5 years. Is that the issue? Does maybe the mindset is we bring him here and we play more zone than we play man? We play more bend but don't break, so we're not asking him to cover guys one-on-one all over the place. Is that maybe the thinking?
It could be, Seth, because when you play zone, you're not following the guy all over the field. And if his knee is that zone defense might help save his knee in a lot of ways. So, but the fact that he can't get on the field, he's had basically, 2 weeks to learn Fangio's scheme. Even in a basic concept, even if he doesn't know every nuance of their defense, it still should have been good enough to get him on the field.
Listen, I agree.
But the bottom line is, if this knee is that big of an issue, it goes back to what I've asked, why the heck did you go get him then? And the answer I got was a little bit shocking, but realistic. It's an honest answer. Look what's out there in the open market. It's not that much available. We're hoping that this could be, and again, that's not a knock on him. It's basically a testament to what isn't out there on that open market to try to bring in.
I'm going to make it. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, you know, when you bring a guy in and you're having, you know, those types of issues where maybe he doesn't understand the verbiage, all defensive coverages are coded, you know, so you can turn to the safety. The player's called in the huddle. He looks at the safety. The safety say, "Hey, man, we're in cover 3 here." If they motion and they check, most of the time it's this free safety that's making the check. Look at the safety. Give him a cover 7, cover 4, cover 3, whatever it is that you got to do to get it done. There's ways to get it done. I just find it awfully alarming that you trade for a guy. You've had him here for almost a week and a half, and he's not ready to play after being a healthy scratch for 5 weeks.
I don't even think he made the trip, did he?
No,
I don't even think he made the trip.
He's here. He's
literally
here.
Yeah.
He's here in Philly. And the thing is, I'll give the Eagles credit for when they make moves, any kind of moves. I don't care if it's just to fill a spot, like this to fill a roster spot, or if they're looking for a primetime player. They're one of the best in the league at doing two things. Number one, checking the character. I mean, they go all the way back to college, and check the character, what he was like in college, all the way up to what he's been like in the pros. And number two, they do a thorough job of checking players' medical histories. Usually the Eagles don't leave any stone unturned. But that should tell you, they sent out an SOS that they need another cornerback in a hurry. And again, they're hoping and praying that this guy, if that knee is right, if they can get that knee right, that he could be the answer opposite of Quinyon Mitchell.
I'm going to make a prediction that this is the most we will talk about Jair Alexander for the rest of the year.
Dang.
I'm just going to
Wow.
just a shot in the dark. Gunner, if
you
somebody
took it there? You took it there?
If somebody at the NovaCare complex,
Wow.
Gunner, is telling you we're desperate, that kind of puts a bow on it.
See, I don't want to use the word desperate, but they obviously know.
Okay.
It's the same thing. They went out and got 2 edge rushers.
Well, wait,
okay?
did they use the word desperate?
They didn't use the word desperate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So they went out and got 2 edge rushers. One guy who's been with the organization 15 years. Another guy, when he's healthy, is a really good edge rusher. Why? Because they've sent a message to those in-house. What you've done for us is okay, but it's not good enough to where we want to go and what we need to do. They have 16 sacks after 8 games. That's unacceptable for a lot of teams that are trying to go deep into the playoffs. 16 sacks. And your edge rusher is not the one that's leading the way in sacks. So what does that tell you? Your guys are not doing the job enough. Now, you bring in a Brandon Graham at 37 years old. Brandon Graham still has the energy. He can give you 15 plays. Those 15 plays, all you need is maybe 2 or 3 to give you a significant turnabout in the game. He's done his job. Jalen Phillips is a little bit different. Younger guy. He could be that steady edge, and anybody after him will be a rotational player. Phillips could come in here right now and probably play the majority of the snaps on that outside, and whoever's behind him gets to fill in when he needs a breather.
Well, the question is, okay, if Nolan Smith is healthy, he's going back at left. Jalen Hunt has been playing pretty darn well the last couple of weeks. So from a rotational standpoint, do you remove Jalen Hunt and stunt his growth for Jalen Phillips? You know?
Yep.
You think so?
Yep.
Wow.
The move, to me, the move that he made tells me we're all about now. See, we got Jalen for a few more years, and he can learn from a Jalen Phillips who has a few more years and a lot more games experience under his belt.
And a boatload of success.
And a boatload of success with Vic Fangio's scheme.
6.5 sacks, 8 starts.
Yes, in Vic Fangio's scheme. So I don't like to look at it as demoting a player because it is what it is. You are demoting Jalen Hunt in a lot of ways. But if that young man is smart, I want to absorb everything Jalen Phillips, Brandon Graham, and Nolan Smith can give me. And I've had to do it from a watching position more so than a playing position. And you're right. He's been playing very well the last couple of weeks. But now you bring in players with a little bit more savvy, a little bit more know-how, knows a few more tricks than he does. You teach that young man a lot. And when it's his time, he's going to be here a long time. These guys are short-term solutions.
Ain't that what the coach is for?
Yeah. But Seth,
listen,
how many times we talk about how players learn a lot of times from players more so than they do from coaches, if you think about it. There's a lot of times players will absorb information more from a guy playing his position more so than he will from a coach.
Well, I think it should be a healthy, because I agree. On 2 notes, I agree that you do learn from other players. Because how I learned how to, rush the passer when I first came here, I wasn't a pass rush specialist. So I got film and started studying and watched Reggie and LT and the great pass rushers, that were in the league to learn how to rush the passer. But I also think it's incumbent upon the coaches to bring something to the table to help that player, be able to elevate. And if they can't, then they really shouldn't be coaching. I'm not saying that the Eagles, whoever's coaching the DEs and the edge guys aren't getting the job done, because sometimes it's just the players not being able to be productive. But I see this kid starting to take off, and I worry about his production and his mindset, especially with young players today, and the potential of losing them when all of a sudden he was the starter and now you make a trade while he's ascending, and now you're going to pull him back and rein him back in. And you know me, man, I'm all about competition, because I feel like competition is what brings the best out of everybody. If he really wants to play, then guess what? Go to work, because they gave up a third-round draft pick. Not a first or a second, a third. If you outperform him, guess what Vic Fangio is going to do? He's going to put you on the field.
That's right.
I think you got to feel good, though, about not just the trade deadline, but who the Eagles are getting back after the trade deadline for the rest of the run. Not only get Jalen Phillips, who, by the way, is in the top 7% of winning his battles at the line of scrimmage on run plays as an edge rusher, which the Eagles have no one in that stratosphere, unfortunately, in terms of win rate percentage. Also, one of the top guys as well in terms of just winning the battles on the edge in pass rushing situations as well. Another situation the Eagles need help in. Plus, Nolan Smith comes back. You mentioned Nakobe Dean earlier. He should be well within the swing of things. That's all things that I think will upgrade this Eagles defense. And yeah, I still think Brandon Graham will have a positive impact, not just in the locker room, but on the field as well. Let's get into our Say What segment, gentlemen. This does feature Jalen Phillips, the aforementioned Jalen Phillips. You know, I would assume that coming to the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champion, is a pretty big deal. But would you call it the greatest thing that's ever happened to you? Here is Jalen Phillips in his locker this week talking about the trade.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was excited day one. I mean, talk to me now. Like, this is literally the greatest thing that's happened to me in my whole life.
Wow. In his whole life.
In his whole life. The man's got a baby due in a couple months, and this is the best.
Translation, man, I'm glad you got the hell out of Miami, man. I'm so glad I got out of there, but they were going nowhere fast.
If they have a boy, I believe they're going to name the boy Howie, which I think is adorable. All right, maybe I'm just throwing that one out there. The greatest thing, look, we used to joke for a long time, before the Eagles ever even played in the Super Bowl, gold standard, okay? That was a joke. That was something that Jeffrey Lurie had talked about when it came to the finances of the Eagles and how they handle the cap and all that stuff. That's what he was referring to. But, of course, when you haven't even been to a Super Bowl yet, people took exception to it, and rightfully so, about a team being a gold standard. Now they're the reigning Super Bowl champions. They've won 2 in 8 years. They've been to 3 in 8 years. They have a great chance to get back to it again this year. You're leaving Miami, which most likely, I know they just had a big win there against the Bills, most likely the head coach getting fired. You got traded by the interim GM. I would imagine, Seth, that coming to the Eagles is a breath of fresh air.
You know, listen, I've been on teams that are in football purgatory hell, and there's nothing like stepping out of that environment. You know, I spent 3 years of my career in Arizona with the Cardinals, and when I was able to exit that place and go to the Green Bay Packers, it was like there was air there to breathe all of a sudden. There was hope, you know, for my talents to be able to, you know, get to the ultimate goal, which was winning the Super Bowl. You know, everything about that environment was different. Like, I would be riding on the bike, getting my cardio in, and I looked to the side, and Pat Bowlen was on a bike right next to me. For y'all that don't know, Pat Bowlen at the time was the owner of, you know, the Denver Broncos. And he's having a conversation after being in Arizona for 3 years and walking down the same hall as Bill Bidwell, the owner, and he walked by like I was a ghost. Didn't acknowledge me, didn't say hi, nothing. Like, I had like 2, maybe 3 conversations with this man the entire time I was there, you know. So when you go from football purgatory to football heaven and you know that you got an opportunity to be successful, maybe that's the inspiration for saying what he's saying, because that's a pretty big statement. It's the best thing that's ever happened in my life. Good God.
All right, I'm going to need a player to mere mortal translation book for you. I need you to break this down for me, because I've never heard this said before. Micah Parsons at his locker in Green Bay was talking about taking on the defending Super Bowl champions, how big this game is for both sides and all that. And this is the way he broke down the way this game was going to play out as a battle. Maybe you can break this down for me, Seth.
It's going to be a respectful game. It's going to be a very respectful and disrespectful game. So it's going to be a dogfight.
Dogfight, I get. It's going to be a respectful and disrespectful game. How do you find the middle road there?
He's trying to soften the Eagles up. He's trying to soften up, you know, Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and everybody else on that offensive line. There's not a damn thing respectable about the game of football.
That's right.
Because as a player, I'm trying to snatch your soul from your body. I'm trying to take any semblance of pride that you have and put it in my back pocket and tell you to get the hell out of the stadium when the game is over. So there's nothing at all respectable about the game of football. That's just a, you know, if Lane and Jordan Mailata was a piece of toast, That's Micah trying to butter him up a little bit.
What do you guys make of the poison pill, by the way, in the deal from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers? If the Packers were to then trade Micah Parsons after they acquired him from the Dallas Cowboys, if they were to trade him in division, like to the Eagles, they couldn't do it because of a poison pill put in the contract. I say Jerry Jones is a coward. What say you?
Oh, the Eagles are living rent-free in Jerry Jones' hands. Yeah. You know what? I don't blame Jerry for doing that, man. Why would you want Micah Parsons in the division? I mean, you've already seen him in the division. Why would you want him playing for the team that you're always trying to overtake year in and year out? I don't blame him for doing it. And from what I've learned, this is not the only time this has ever happened. Other teams have done this as well. We'll make the deal as long as you don't trade him within our division. I don't blame him. You know, the fact, first of all, I still can't get over the fact that Jerry Jones gave up the most significant piece to their defensive puzzle, which is porous to begin with. And number two, you know, you put that clause in there, hey, man, don't trade him to the Eagles, man. I'm telling you right now.
And then trade a first-round pick for Quentin Williams.
Exactly.
Do you think maybe Jerry doesn't know what he's doing?
I think Jerry right now should be locked in his office until football season's over by his son and the rest of the family. And you slip a meal under the door every now and then. You know he probably has a gold-plated bathroom in his office as it is. He's got a shower in there. So slipping food under the door every now and then, but don't let him out. Don't let him have a phone. You know, don't let him have anything associated with football until the season's over, because I think he's too visible as an owner. And then you look at lately, he says stuff that's controversial, then he goes and tries to backtrack it later. Mm-hmm. You know, he's doing more harm than good. So I would keep Jerry as far away from football as possible.
I still say coward move.
Jerry knows in his heart of hearts that Micah wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle. That's why that poison pill was put in there, because he doesn't want to have to face the wrath of Micah Parsons twice a year, every year. And for Cowboy fans to look at it and be like, Jerry, what the hell was you thinking? What were you doing? You know, what was on your mind when you decided to make this trade and you allowed Micah to leave Dallas to go to Green Bay and then turn around and have him go to Philadelphia? Come on, man.
No.
You know, so that's really what that's all about. He knows, and everybody else knows exactly where Micah truly wants to be.
Hey, the story came out after Micah was traded that back in the spring, when they were back, I believe it was March, when they were negotiating back and forth on the contract. Supposedly, Micah told Jerry, don't call me anymore. That's all you need to know right there. So you know how ticked off he was back in March, and he was as happy as could be to get out of there. I'm sure Green Bay was not his first choice. But the fact that he's out there and got $188 million, 120 guaranteed, good Lord, you know he's happy to be out of there.
When we come back, we're going to take a look behind enemy lines with what's going on with this matchup tonight. Who are the Green Bay Packers rolling out there to try to take down the Birds at Lambeau? We'll talk about that and more when we return on the Verizon pregame show.
Mid-Penn Bank's Sports and Entertainment Division was created because we understand the unique financial situations of both athletes and entertainers. So whether you're trying to win a Grammy or an MVP, reach out to one of our professionals to help us navigate your financial journey.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Green Bay Packers have a lot on the line when they take on the Philadelphia Eagles tonight at Lambeau Field. Again, feels like temperature tonight's supposed to hit -4 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So that's what the weather has in front of the Eagles tonight. As for the players they'll be trying to stop, we're going to go behind enemy lines. I'll start this one off for you gentlemen. Josh Jacobs is the guy that I am looking at for the Eagles to stop. Now, we just talked in the previous segment about the Eagles' run defense being really a struggle-filled year for them. Well, you bring in a guy like Jalen Phillips who can be able to shed blocks at the line of scrimmage and get those TFLs that you love so much. But Josh Jacobs, a difficult guy to stop. Jonathan Taylor, as we all know, having a resurgence there in Indianapolis. He's got 15 touchdowns on the season. This guy is second with 10 so far, and he's had multiple rushing touchdown games, and I believe 4 of the last 5 weeks. That's what the Eagles have to stop today, Gunner. That's who I'm looking at. Who are you looking at from Green Bay?
Well, Green Bay's running game has not been what it was a year ago, and I'm sure it's frustrating for Josh Jacobs. But once he gets inside the 10-yard line, it's like a human battering ram. So that's going to be interesting, trying to keep Green Bay out of the red zone. I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers wide receivers. You know, they don't have big-name marquee-type receivers, but what they do is have a bunch of gazelles. They have 3 or 4 receivers that can hit 4-3, but 2 of them aren't playing tonight. Jaden Reed's out with that broken collarbone. And, of course, Matthew Golden, their first-round pick this year, has a shoulder injury, so he's not playing. But the guy who's been Jordan Love's go-to guy this season has been Romeo Doubs. You know, he only has 34 catches, but he averages over 13 yards a catch. And you talk about stretching the field. I mean, he's very tricky. He's not like Devontae Adams in terms of that shifty, but, man, his quick step, first step off the line of scrimmage, if a DB makes the wrong move, he's got you in his hip pocket, and it's lights out if Jordan Love gets him the football. So keep an eye out for Romeo Doubs. Like I said, he only has 4 touchdown catches, but he will definitely be one of Jordan Love's go-to guys tonight.
All right, Seth, who are you looking at tonight?
I'm going to go over on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to say Micah Parsons. Not so much because of what he may do on the edge, but the problems he may present when they move him around, put him on the inside, and start running games. He's still one of the most explosive defensive players, you know, in the National Football League right now. I'm not I'm not worried about him against Mailata. I'm not worried about him against Lane Johnson. What I'm worried is when they kick him down inside, maybe put him over Brett Toth in a 3-3 situation and then bring an extra guy from off the line. Or they, you know, shift him down and put him over, you know, Tyler Steen in a pass rush situation. If the protection, you know, isn't adjusted in that moment, it could be disaster because he can be a game wrecker. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to come out breathing fire like a dragon tonight, trying to figure out how he can wreck this game.
All right, now swinging back to the Eagles, when we talked just in the last segment about, you know, sort of wish lists after the bye week and what you wanted to see from the Eagles, I talked to a number of people, not with the organization, but fans in general, just talking about what they wanted to see in the second half. And the one thing they made one request not to see or hear was drama. Tweets, posts, all that fun stuff. Devontae Smith was actually asked about it in his locker this week about A.J. Brown putting out there, they're using me without using me. Now, A.J.'s side of the story was, I don't want to get into it, more or less. He's focused on being here, loves that he made it through the trade deadline, and is still with the Philadelphia Eagles. Devontae Smith simply said, he's grown, we're all grown. He's going to handle that how he wants to handle it. He has his reasons, essentially. When it comes to, now you obviously didn't have social media posts back then, Seth, when you were playing and all that, but when it comes to the outside noise, do you think that that really has any effect on what goes on in the locker room?
I don't, you know, I'm people talk about culture and they talk about locker rooms. This is what I know to be factual. When you're not winning football games, the culture sucks and the locker room is at odds. Because everybody's looking for someone else to, you know, a reason for why things aren't going the way that it should be going. But as long as you're winning, there is no culture issue because I think that culture is a result of winning. If you're winning, then you got a good culture. When you're losing, more times than not, everybody will point the finger at the culture being bad, okay? As far as the locker room is concerned, you know, you got probably like 80 guys in the locker room when you consider all the practice squad players, the guys that are on injured reserve. Not everybody in that locker room is going to like everybody. Not everybody's going to get along with each other. I had players when I played that I absolutely hated on my own team, but guess what? On Sunday, we put on the same uniform for the same objective. So you come together for the collective, and you go out and you get the job done. So I'm not so sure. I mean, how does what A.J. Brown says affect the defensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the locker room? It doesn't, because a media person isn't going over to a defensive player, hey, what do you think about what A.J. said, using me but not using me? That's just not going to happen. Where the conflict comes in is for a Devontae Smith to have to answer a question for A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown's not talking, or for Nick Sirianni to have to answer, or for Jalen Hurts to have to answer, or anybody else on the offensive side of the ball. Listen, I am kind of done with the whole A.J. thing. He's going to be what he's going to be, and it'll be what it's going to be when it's all said and done. As long as it doesn't affect how the team plays or where the team is trying to go, you know, if the Eagles are okay with it, then who am I to say that it's wrong and he shouldn't be doing this and he shouldn't be doing that? Because organizationally, when you work for large corporations, they've got bylaws and they got rules, and everybody adheres to them or they pay the price. Obviously, Jeffrey and Howie and Nick Sirianni and everybody else that's in the power, structure of the Eagles don't see it as a problem, or they're not making a big deal of it outwardly. And just as long as they continue to win, ain't nobody gonna care.
I am of the mindset of you, Seth. I'm done with this AJ thing, but we are not done with it. We're not going to be done with it. You know why? Because he's going to force us to talk about something else down the road. I guarantee you. And even though it's his mindset, it's his style, it's his approach to life, that he has something to say, whether it's cryptic or not, he is going to bring something to the forefront that is going to be the talk of Philadelphia for another week leading up to another game. So I'm just preparing for it. I don't want to talk about AJ's tweets and cryptic messages. I'm going to talk about AJ, the football player, and how he's contributing to the team. But I have a bad feeling we're not done talking about AJ outside of football.
Well, when I said that I'm done, I mean I'm done. Okay.
Well, we're going to have to talk about it.
No, y'all going to have to talk about
no,
it.
Listen, you have an opinion on everything. Now, come on now. Come on, man.
I do.
Yes.
I do. And I've had my dust up with him on social media.
Yes.
I've had my opinions about him on radio and TV. When I tell you I'm done, I'm done.
We're just going to run a disclaimer.
I'm done, man.
If anything happens after this game, we'll just run a disclaimer, and at the end of it, I'm Seth Joyner, I approve this message.
I'm trying to tell you right now, if that man steps to the podium tonight after the game and somehow, some way we get some kind of cryptic message, I'm not talking about it. So y'all can have the segment.
Fair enough.
As a matter of fact, I'll just roll my seat right on out of the room. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back, we're going to break it all down one more time when it comes to our final predictions and our players to bank on for the Philadelphia Eagles at Lambeau Field tonight. That's when we return on the Verizon pregame show.
At MidPenn Bank, we believe in the power of community. We're not just another bank, we're your bank. We're also your neighbor. For over 150 years, we've been helping dreams come true, financing projects that make a difference locally. From small businesses to community centers, we're here to support what matters most to you, donating time and resources to strengthen the Philadelphia region. And when Philly's favorite superstars need a bank they can trust, they turn to MidPenn Bank just like you can. MidPenn Bank. Stronger communities, stronger futures. Let's build something great together.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Hi, I got some work done with another surgeon. If I give you the bill, can you give me a better deal on a better face? Like this?
We're not doing that.
Well, at Verizon, anyone can bring in their AT&T or T-Mobile bill, and they'll give you a better deal on the best 5G network.
What?
Read my lips. You're not as cool as Verizon.
Guess not.
Hey, my eyes are up here.
Bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to Verizon for a better deal.
I miss turtlenecks.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Let's get into our predictions for Eagles Packers. First off, is there any better way to come back from a mega bye where you have that extra day than Monday Night Football, of course, at Lambeau Field? Well, there's one better way, and that's winning. And that's how I see the Philadelphia Eagles going about their business today. I see the Eagles winning this game 31-20. They win comfortably. I do think you establish order again when it comes to the run game. I think Brett Toth gives us something to talk about with the center position going forward. And I also look at a guy like Jalen Hurts as a guy that is going to be locked in after the bye week. They're 6-2 right now. They realize what's in front of them, how much ground they could really space they could really give them and the rest of the NFC by going on a little 3-game winning streak here, by taking on the Packers at Lambeau tonight. Then after that, they got the Detroit Lions, and then they got the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Eagles have a great opportunity here to really assert their dominance. I think it starts tonight with a 31-20 victory over Green Bay. Gunner, what do you got tonight?
Man, it is so hard to figure out this Packers team. They're I think the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the NFC, because Jordan Love torched Pittsburgh's defense 2 weeks ago. And let's face it, the Steelers' defense is not that lockdown defense we're accustomed to seeing year in and year out. But that same Steelers' defense went into Indianapolis the next week and smoked Indianapolis. So I don't know what to make of Jordan Love. Then he comes back against Carolina, plays like this is his first game as a professional quarterback. A lot of people are calling for Matt LaFleur's head on a silver platter, his play calling. He plays not to lose instead of playing aggressive. People are like unhappy in Packerland with Matt LaFleur right now. The running game has been basically neutral for most of the season. Josh Jacobs hasn't been a dominant running back like he was in 2024. But right now, Green Bay's stinging. You know, they're embarrassed by what happened. They've lost to Cleveland and Carolina in the same season. Lambeau Field is one of the most historic venues in all of professional sports. You've been there many times. I've been there many times. I know what it's like. Being from the great state of Wisconsin, I know what it means to walk out on that field at Lambeau Field. But this Eagles team, they've had plenty of time to rest, to heal up. They've got some new components to the equation. The Packers' offensive line is not that good this year. I'm going to say the Eagles win this game 27-17.
27-17. You got another 10-point win right there. Mr. Seth Joyner.
I don't see this being a 10-point game. I think both of you guys got the Eagles winning by 10. I think the Eagles win, but I think the Packers are going to come out with so much vim and vigor, you know, because they were embarrassed last week losing to that Carolina team. That's just embarrassing, you know, to lose to a team that bad. So I'm going to keep it sweet. I'm going to keep it short. Eagles 32, Packers 24. A 7-point win for the Birds tonight.
All right.
Okay.
No, not as optimistic, but okay.
Okay. Way to bring us down. Okay.
Well, it's all real talk, folks. It's real talk. All right. Now, when it comes to our players to bank on today, Gunner, do you want to take the first bite out of this one? Who do you think is the star of the game for the Birds?
You know what? I don't know. You had to put that disclaimer on there. You said star of the game. You started off by saying player to watch and then star of the game. Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna go with Jalen Phillips.
All right.
I'm gonna say, you know, he knows Vic Fangio's defense inside and out. And I think he's going to get some extended playing time because he already knows the verbiage, already knows the system. And they definitely needed an upgrade on that edge, both in rushing the passer and defending against the run. So I'm going to go with him. See, if you just said player to watch, I'd have said my man BG. Even if he played 15 snaps. But because you put star of the game, I'm going to say Jalen Phillips in his first game as a Philadelphia Eagle will shine tonight under the bright lights of Lambeau Field in Monday Night Football.
You know, just because of the history between yous two, you can have two. You'll go BG and Brandon Phillips.
Okay.
Or Jalen Phillips.
Go
you can go two.
I get two?
Two for $1.
All right.
Just like that.
Edge for edge. All right.
I'm actually going to take on this one. I'm going to stick with what Seth was going along the lines of there. And I'm going to go Saquon. I know it's a very good run defense that they're facing today, but I think Saquon, this offensive line, sort of cracked a bit of a code or unlocked one, as Jalen was talking about at his press conference. I think you look at a guy like Saquon Barkley being able to go off tonight against the Green Bay Packers. So that's my guy.
Hold up, I got one more for you.
Oh, you can't have three. You can't have three. Now you're getting greedy.
Wait, did you pick already?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm going to wait till you pick. And then I'm going to add something real quick.
Well, I'm going over on the defensive side of the ball again. Because I think that, when you think about West Coast style offenses, and Matt LaFleur is a Kyle Shanahan disciple, everything within that offense revolves around the ability to be able to run the football, okay? And the Eagles have to get the run game under control. They've got to get Josh Jacobs under control. It's time for Jalen Carter, okay, to be the player that he's been, that he was last year. We all been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and he shows flashes. But with 2 weeks off to get healthy, whatever's been unhealthy, to get in shape, the way that Vic Fangio has said that he needs to be in shape, this is the game for him to show up, to be able to shut the run down and present the opportunity of earning the right to rush the passer because you've done so. You've got Nakobe Dean back. That's been a big part of being able to get the defense to a point where they're only giving up an average over the last 2 games, 78 yards per game rushing. Do you know how good that is? The Packers the Packers defense is giving up 89 yards per game, and they're ranked second in the NFL against the run. So if they can maintain that level, and for that to happen, Jalen Carter's got to be the beast that we expect for him to be.
All right. Did you want to get a third one in?
Yeah. What's the over/under in tush pushes tonight? I beat you to it.
You beat me to it. Perfect. No.
My bad.
But here's the way I was going to ask it.
First play of the game.
First play of the game.
Okay. So that's a 1st and 10. I would consider that. The way I was going to term it was, will there be a spiteful tush push tonight?
Oh, I guarantee you.
All right, so a 1st and 10 tush push?
No, Nick Sirianni ain't that petty, man.
Yeah, I'm looking for a little petty Nick Sirianni tonight. I think it's going to be if I put the over-under at like 5.
Okay.
I'm going to take the over.
You're gonna, okay, 5. We're going to go 5.5?
Yeah, 5.5.
You're going to go over?
I'm going to take the over.
You can give me the under.
That's a high. That's a high one.
I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go the under, but I do think one petty tush push tonight.
I'm different, Mark. I'm not like the rest.
You don't say.
I'm different, Mark.
You know what I like to see? Andrew Pearson just put in the comments, fake tush push, first play of the game.
Oh, I love it.
Saquon for 80.
A tush push sweep like we saw in Tampa?
Yeah. Saquon for 80.
That's fine with me.
Out the gate.
That's
How sweet would that be?
That's part. Oh, do we have to tease any giveaways?
Yes.
Drat. Let's do that. We're going to give you guys some stuff. It's going to be awesome. I promise you.
So actually, I think we got 2 giveaways. The
What?
first one, yes. In the post game, we're going to give away a signed helmet in football. And down the road, we've got some tickets that we're going to give away that we're going to start promoting. Probably in 2 weeks. I don't know. Do we have the graphic for that or no? I'm not sure. Okay, so in the post game, you guys will see the graphic for the tickets that are coming up. But the graphic that you just saw, we're giving that away right there. We're giving that away in the post game after the Eagles Packers. So, and then of course, we've got our charitable arm with the holidays coming up. Myself and my wife, in partnership with Legacy Plastic Surgery, we are adopting 3 families this year for the holiday season. We're going to go full boat. The kids are not only getting toys, but we're going to provide a Christmas dinner. Whatever it is that family needs, we're going to provide it for them. And we're asking you guys, the viewers of the Seth Joyner channel and the Verizon pre and post game show, to please, donate and, help us towards that end. And guess what? If we raise a significant amount, we'll adopt a few more families. So we'll continue to promote this, over the next month, because it is near and dear to our heart, and we are moving into that holiday season of giving.
There you go. Awesome. So make sure you guys follow all that right here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. We'll be back with you guys in the post-game show. This has been the Verizon pregame show. We appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. And we'll be back with you guys in post, hopefully talking about the Eagles' 7th win of the season. We'll see you guys in the Verizon post-game show.